Center-right opposition leader Friedrich Merz claimed victory in Germany's national election on Sunday after exit polls showed his bloc in the lead. According to Assosicted Press Merz said he was aware of the dimension of the task he faces and said that, it will not be easy. He added that he aims to put together a governing coalition as quickly as possible. We have prepared ourselves very, very well for this Bundestag election and also for assuming government responsibility, Merz told his supporters at an election night party in Berlin. Thank you for the trust you have placed in us and in me personally. I am aware of the responsibility. I am also aware of the scale of the task that now lies ahead of us. I approach it with the utmost respect, and I know that it will not be easy. Merz says the Union bloc's win shows that Germany is present in Europe again, that the world sees that Germany is reliably governed again following months of political turmoil.
Wir, die CDU und die CSU, die Union, wir haben diese Bundestagswahl 2025 gewonnen. Herzlichen Dank für das Vertrauen, das Sie uns und das Sie auch mir persönlich geben. Ich weiß um die Verantwortung. Ich weiß auch um die Dimension der Aufgabe, die jetzt vor uns liegt. Ich begegne dem mit größtem Respekt und ich weiß, dass es nicht einfach werden wird. Wir haben einen sehr harten Wahlkampf geführt. Dieser Wahlkampf ist trotzdem richtig notwendig gewesen, auch in der Auseinandersetzung um die wichtigen und großen Themen unseres Landes, um die Wirtschaftspolitik, um die Migration, um die Außen- und Sicherheitspolitik, um die innere Sicherheit. Aber jetzt werden wir miteinander reden und es geht vor allem darum, so schnell wie möglich eine handlungsfähige Regierung in Deutschland wieder zu schaffen. Die Welt da draußen wartet nicht auf uns und sie wartet auch nicht auf langatmige Koalitionsgespräche und Verhandlungen. Wir müssen jetzt wieder schnell handlungsfähig werden, damit wir im Inneren das Richtige tun können, dass wir in Europa wieder präsent sind, dass auf der Welt wahrgenommen wird, Deutschland wird wieder zuverlässig regiert. Und dafür steht die Union, dafür stehen wir und dafür stehe ich auch ganz persönlich.
There are important updates from the Pokrovsk direction in Donetsk Oblast. According to Euromaidan press media outlet, here the Ukrainians launched another unexpected attack south of Pokrovsk to dismantle and counter the Russian offensive by taking advantage of the frozen ground. Ukrainian troops surprised the enemy and pushed them out of another key stronghold. Euromaidan press says that the planned Ukrainian counterattack at Dachensky is part of the larger strategy to take back previously lost positions around Pokrovsk piece by piece. While Russian forces remain weakened and vulnerable, their offensive capabilities have been significantly depleted from months of failed assaults and devastating losses leading to the culmination of their offensive. Ukrainian forces saw an opportunity to strike before the enemy had time to reorganize. Many of the positions that the Russians have recently captured remain poorly defended as they have been unable to fortify them properly due to a lack of resources. By striking now, Ukraine can not only reclaim critical positions but also push Russian forces further away from Pokrovsk, forcing them to expend valuable resources in an attempt to consolidate gains rather than push forward. This presents a critical opportunity for the Ukrainians to continue their series of counterattacks in the region, successfully sabotaging the Russian outflanking strategy. To achieve this, the Ukrainians are launching surprise infiltration assaults, overwhelming unprepared Russian defenders before they can react. Many Russian troops holding recently captured positions are still adjusting to the new terrain and lack established defensive fortifications. In several areas, Russian forces have been unable to dig in properly, exposing them to sudden and rapid Ukrainian counterattacks. These assaults are purely infantry-based, relying on speed, maneuverability, and close-quarters combat to push the Russians out before they can call for reinforcements. The cold winter conditions of Donetsk Oblast play a crucial role in making this possible. With temperatures dropping to minus 15 degrees Celsius, the normally muddy and impassable river has frozen over, allowing Ukrainian troops to launch surprise attacks by crossing on foot. According to Euromaidan Press, under normal circumstances, the river would be a natural barrier by movement, but the freezing temperatures have transformed it into a solid path for infiltration. While armored vehicles are still too heavy and would sink in the mud, infantry forces can move quickly and stealthily. Ukrainian forces also hold key fortified positions north of the river that make these attacks even more effective. These positions provide secure staging areas, complete with underground bunkers and concealed movement routes. This has allowed them to prepare for attacks close to Russian positions without being detected until it is too late to react. Surprise plays an important role, as Russian forces are largely unprepared for Ukrainian counterattacks. Having spent weeks focusing on offensive operations, they are not expecting a sudden Ukrainian push. Ukrainian forces are systematically reclaiming ground around Pokrovsk, weakening Russia's offensive potential and delaying any potential breach of the city. By striking now, they force the enemy into a dilemma: either continue neglecting defensive preparations and risk losing more key footholds, or divert already stretched resources to fortify their positions at the cost of their failing offensive. Ukrainian military expert Ivan Kirichevsky says that since 2022, work has been done to find alternatives to Starlink satellite terminals. If we are deprived of Starlink communication, it would be a dangerous situation, but I wouldn't say it's fatal. We have already noticed that various issues with Starlink began back in the fall of 2022, and we could even thank Musk for that, because the first failures of our drones happened when he turned off Starlink at inconvenient moments. Accordingly, certain efforts were made to diversify. The Germans provided us with satellite terminals, and the Swedes also supplied satellite communication terminals along with armored vehicles. So over these 2 years, there has been enough time to diversify away from Starlink, and this work has been carried out, the military expert commented. Ivan Kirichevsky concluded that if Starlink is shut down, it would be painful and unpleasant, but not fatal, and it would not benefit Musk in any way. Recall on December the 16th, 2024, the European Union signed contracts to launch work on IRIS-2, a multi-orbit network of 290 satellites, which will serve as an alternative to Starlink. On December the 30th, the private joint stock company Kyivstar announced the signing of an agreement with Starlink, owned by Elon Musk, to introduce satellite communication in Ukraine. At present, US negotiators pressing Kyiv for access to Ukraine's critical minerals have raised the possibility of cutting the country's access to Elon Musk's vital Starlink satellite internet system, 3 sources familiar with the matter told Reuters. Ukraine's continued access to SpaceX-owned Starlink was brought up in discussions between US and Ukrainian officials after Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenski turned down an initial proposal from US Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, the source said. Starlink provides crucial internet connectivity to war-torn Ukraine and its military. The issue was raised again during meetings between Keith Kellogg, the U.S. Special Ukraine Envoy, and Zelensky, said one of the sources who was briefed on the talks. During the meeting, Ukraine was told it faced imminent shut-off of the service if it did not reach a deal on critical minerals, said the source, who requested anonymity to discuss closed negotiations. Ukraine runs on Starlink. They consider it their North Star, said the source. Losing Starlink would be a massive blow. Zelensky has rejected demands from President Donald Trump's administration for $500 billion in mineral wealth from Ukraine to repay Washington for wartime aid, saying the US has offered no specific security guarantees.